Hello and welcome to Cisco's Meet the Expert series, where we dive into the technology shaping the future of IT operations. Today, we're exploring AI-powered assurance and the pivotal role it plays in accelerating the adoption of AI and agentic ops. As many of us are aware, AI has quickly become the engine of modern enterprises. It's driving a new wave of transformation and disruption. The rise of generative and agentic AI is putting unprecedented demands on networks and NetOps teams. Yet, what we continue to hear from our customers is clear. Traditional monitoring tools simply can't keep up with this new level of complexity and speed. To unpack how AI-powered assurance is redefining operational trust and enabling true machine speed operations, I'm joined by Raj Rikhy, Director of Product Management here with Cisco ThousandEyes, and a subject matter expert in the space. So Raj, welcome to today's session, and thank you for stopping by to be able to drop some knowledge on all of our listeners.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Hey, listen, let's go ahead and get started, Raj. I have a series of questions I'd love to get your thoughts on, as I know you're close to this and talk to many customers. And as we think about AI, it's looking to reshape much of what we do here at Cisco, if you've listened to or been to any of our recent events. So I want to start by first asking you a quick question. So with the traditional IT perimeter gone, where cloud has quickly become the new data center, SaaS is the new application stack, and the internet is now the new network, AI is accelerating both the opportunities and risks many organizations face today. So from your perspective, how does this AI-driven shift redefine the role of assurance in delivering seamless and trusted digital experiences that you've seen?
Well, David, that's an excellent question. And I think it's important to think about the past being the past and the future being the present, right? In the past, assurance is focused on monitoring what you owned, your data center, potentially even, what's in arm's reach, right? Server room right around the corner, your on-premises network. That world very obviously no longer exists. Today, digital experiences rely on an intricate chain of third-party services, APIs, SaaS platforms, cloud providers, and if you extend even further, AI applications that sit at the edge of your network, right? And you may not own the stack anymore. You may not own the servers back in the server room. You may not even own any of the AI applications that your users and employees are interacting with, but you're still responsible and accountable for the outcome. That's precisely where assurance takes on a fundamentally new role. It's no longer just about visibility, it's about establishing trust. And AI is central to this transformation. AI-powered assurance continuously validates performance across both owned and unowned environments, detecting issues at algorithmic and machine speed, predicting risks before they surface, and safeguarding outcomes. And it gives IT leaders the confidence to deliver reliable, predictable digital experiences, even when so much of the infrastructure is outside of their direct control.
So I want to double click on some of the things you said. Let's talk about the challenges or problems that this new ecosystem create for IT and network teams, and why are traditionally monitoring tools really falling short, not able to kind of accommodate that owned and unowned environment that you just spoke about?
Yeah, I think in the context of AI, we tend to talk about things like predictability, right? And stochasticity, meaning like the randomness that is associated with AI actions. I think that's a really important principle to remember, that AI, given randomness, stochasticity, and the ability to take agentic action, has fundamentally changed the profile of network demand and interfaces that are expected for not only your applications, but your network, right? Generative AI has unpredictable, bursty workloads with, in some cases, even autonomous profiles that will interact with your applications. And without some way to adapt to these changes, you're really, I should say, our customers feel like they're continually pushed to be on their back foot. And agentic AI takes that, as I mentioned, a step further, right? With continuous activity that puts a constant load on the network. Now, monitoring tools traditionally were designed for predictable and transactional workloads, right? APIs are structured inputs and outputs. Humans have pretty consistent profiles in terms of what they access and how, right? And they rely, and we've been able to rely on those types of predictable behaviors and set static thresholds and rule-based triggers, generally, which give off a lot of noise. And don't actually give us a whole lot of clarity into what's happening. Now multiply that by a factor of 100, right? Now teams end up with dashboards that say that everything is green and potentially within baseline, but users are complaining about degraded performance, loads that seem almost transient, but in their interruption, but actually they encounter pretty serious degradations. And that's why AI-powered assurance is what we're driving toward, right? The only way that you can, in a way, put up a defense against an algorithmic, algorithmic approach is have an algorithmic defense. And that's really how we're looking at this new reality, learning from dynamic data, detecting subtle degradations, highlighting root causes. And these are really critical for when AI workloads specifically, and especially if they're mission critical, don't tolerate or don't know how to navigate disruption.
If you were going to give any advice to someone looking to, as they start this journey, if you were to give them any kind of steps to think about, is there anything that comes to mind just off the top of your head that you would be thinking about, like as they prepare or get prepared for taking this journey and really implementing an AI forward type of leaning infrastructure as an example?
Yeah, totally. Absolutely. Look, I think the first thing is, don't think about taking an inventory of your tools as being sufficient for how to prepare here, right? You want to be available, and really you want to be prepared, right? Um, for this new reality that we're talking about, in a way that fully addresses the entire state space of different interactions that both your users and your network have today. And part of that is, think about it less heuristically, right? Like we're talking about baseline patterns, we're talking about setting alerts. You have enough alerts, right? Don't think in terms of what those rules that you had set previously are, and how your defenses are prepared. Think in terms of how you can be proactive and who you can partner with that are leaning more towards proactive monitoring tools. And when we talk about assurance, right, what are we actually, what are we really talking about? We're really talking about maintaining the highest level of fidelity of experience for every electronic interface that your customers, your partners, and your employees have. Okay. And in order to make sure that you have that full portfolio of defense, think about not, and again, we always go through this exercise, right? Well, who's going to access it? How they're going to access it? In what way? Well, AI is going to change that model. AI is going to start, interacting with your applications in ways you don't expect. So instead of using that same mental model, shift your mindset a little bit to thinking about, instead of trying to capture that baseline, I want to find out, how do I make sure that I set a high level of fidelity for this desired outcome, and find the vendor, the tool, or whatever you want to call about it, that I want 99% availability as an example here. How do I make sure that for all of these different types of interfaces, and what can you do to make sure that that happens for me? And that pivot in conversation is actually what will help prepare you from going to that next phase of, taking inventories of what you know and those known knowns, to being prepared to not only defend against, but to be able to address the unknown unknowns that are going to happen going forward.
I couldn't help but think, as people are hearing you talk about this idea, many sit in a state of, I find and fix as fast as I can today. But much of what you're saying is, like beyond in what many of the maybe what they're thinking that they should be doing today. So I want to shift gears and talk a little bit about this idea. I hear a lot from customers around they spend a lot of time firefighting, and this idea
Yeah.
of I need a more resilient infrastructure. So as more organizations are striving to move from this reactive state to more proactive resilience through whether it's automation, closed loop operation, things like that, how do you see AI driving this shift? And more specifically, how can an AI powered assurance platform, say one like maybe what we offer here at Cisco with
Oh,
ThousandEyes, turn that vision
yeah.
into a reality by helping teams kind of anticipate and resolve all those issues before they ever impact users?
Yeah. So, I mean, just like how we've been saying, AI is really AI is really the heart of powering assurance here. Moving from we're really here at Thousand Eyes. Um, when I say heart, what I mean is we're really taking it to heart that we need to make that shift from being reactive to being proactive, right? Through automated closed loop operations that we're integrating deeply into the product instead of having our customers worry about constant firefighting, waiting for alerts, chasing down root causes. It simply is just not going to scale when your digital experiences depend on this type of complex multi-cloud, multi-agentic environment. That's the mind share shift that we're undergoing, not just from an internal perspective, but also from a product perspective, right?
Mhm.
AI changes that equation by working at algorithmic speed, detection of anomalies, both global and local, correlation across massive data sets, and not, the best thing that you want is prediction of issues before they even happen, right? But the prediction isn't alone. You need a way to validate those outcomes, build trust in those actions, and really figure out, how do you close that loop to from detection to remediation as fast as possible, maybe even not have a loop at all, right? And that's where AI powered assurance comes in by testing, validating, again, closing the loop between owned and unowned environments. Assurance ensures that every AI led action actually improves the experience rather than introducing your risk.
It dawns on me that as you say something like, as you talk about that, it's like, it seems to me this idea of trust and validation seem to be a pretty um, uh, prominent thing in when you think about assurance. Do you see it that way?
Yeah, so I think what's really interesting here, David, is that when we think about agentic ops, if you talk to, if you talk to some of our customers, if you talk to some of the folks that are actually responsible and accountable, the first thing that they're going to raise is, look, I really appreciate that you're bringing all this algorithmic goodness to me, but I have humans in the building for a reason. And they're absolutely right. The point here is we are complementing, not just right replacing, not we're not even taking the approach that a human should be outside of the loop of the agentic ops action. Humans are integral to taking the actions for remediation. But one of the benefits that we have in the context of AI, and particularly in the context of assurance, is we have the ability to evaluate, summarize, and really provide next best actions to those humans who are in the loop to ensure that the actions that they would then take, that they are empowered to take as a consequence of that visibility, right, are the right ones. And by the way, that's not just a Cisco ThousandEyes approach. That's an entire Cisco all-up approach. We are here to use AI as a lever to ensure that the folks that you trust your network with have the right tools at their disposal to take care of it, right? And
Yeah.
that's what AI-powered assurance is really all about.
That's awesome. I love this like blending, this idea of blending, it's not just about the tooling anymore. You got to have the human oversight so that you have the accuracy and you can ensure the safety and the decision making are the right ones for the business, because only then, right, can you assure that you're getting to the outcome. So I kind of want to shift this to like a business. I heard you talk about insights, metrics. I want to shift this conversation more to talk about business outcomes and not just the metrics here. So
Totally.
when you're thinking about when you go beyond technical gains, like MTTD, MTTR. The real question is, how is AI powered assurance elevating business outcomes? And so, as organizations look to embed AI into day-to-day operations, which many are doing now, how does assurance translate into tangible value, whether it's protecting revenue streams, safeguarding productivity, or even preserving customer trust? And then I'll layer onto that. And as you look forward, do you see AI's role in not just as a preventing disruptions, but as enabling new levels of digital resilience or maybe even agility across the business?
Yeah, this is an excellent question. Look, David, every performance issue is ultimately a business issue. And this is really, the driver for where our customers, both in the knock and really across the CIO and IT departments are pressured today, because no matter what level of scale that you get to, a network interruption or an application interruption isn't any longer just a customer experience issue; it's a revenue issue, right?
Mm.
And one of the interesting things is that, you know, even if you know that a glitch in your storefront can impact sales, even if you know that, as an example, a degraded AI application. I mean, come on, you and I have tried using some of these experiences, and then it starts spinning forever, and then you get frustrated, and then what do? You close the application, right? And these are of course these are relatable problems. But here's what's interesting. I'm going to take this a step forward. Here's what's interesting, right? We're starting to see AI and respectively applications that are powered by the interconnectedness of the different technologies we have today be revenue drivers themselves. So whether it's an interruption in, let's say, a checkout workflow, whether it's an interruption in, let's say, an AI conversation, or whether, as an example, it's an interruption in, let's say, your logistics pipeline, where AI is actually coordinating, let's say, your supply chain, or even potentially like a critical application that's organizing your inventory management or your revenue orders. All of these things have business dimensions with real impacts from the network. And what AI is doing is it's introducing new opportunities, but it's also introducing potentially new surface areas of threats to not just your infrastructure, but also to your business, right? And so AI
Mhm.
powered assurance has the ability to reduce downtime, protect revenue streams, preserve employee productivity. And in fact, studies even show that closed loop operations and intelligent assurance add measurable points of productivity growth each year. So the value that we're talking about here isn't just operational, it's strategic. Assurance becomes a way to safeguard brand reputation, accelerate digital transformation, and unlock confidence to innovate at speed.
So I asked you earlier, as we're starting to wrap things up here, as I asked you a question earlier around kind of like advice you'd be giving. So I want to double click on that one more
Yeah,
time here. So as we look ahead, and
yeah,
you're in a room, imagine you're in a room with IT leaders who are just beginning to align their networking strategies with this balance of AI driven demands that they have to have for this business. I go to in our preparation for this, we talked a little bit about how people are forced. There's a dilemma going on across NetOps where you have these choices. If I don't use AI for the speed because I need a super amount of control, I could become obsolete because everybody's really leveraging it at breakneck speed? Or do I just let it run unchecked? It becomes very risky for me in my business. How do they move from being, say, AI ready? You talked about readiness as one of the things that assurance can help with. How do you move, or what advice could you give to them about moving from AI ready to AI resilient?
totally. Yeah, look, the key point here, and I touched on this a little bit earlier, but just to hammer the point home, don't try and reinvent the network, right? Don't try and remap every single investment that you've made, and work backward from scratch. Just start by even if you start from first principles, start by thinking about what are the better signals that you need. What is the context that you need to ensure that your experiences, your applications, your employees have the highest experience possible? What are the ideal workflows that you would want to not only protect or ensure, but you want to make sure have the highest level of resilience and availability, right? And that thought process, is the leap from not just being ready and resilient, but AI ready and AI resilient. And that's all about embedding assurance into every layer of operations that you have, whether it's your client devices or all the way to the edge, where your AI applications are interacting with your network externally. This means visibility across owned infrastructure, right, and unowned infrastructure and third-party dependencies, and surfacing those through intelligent insights that cut through the noise, right? We're not talking about heuristics anymore. We're talking about algorithmically driven insight, right? And the leaders who take this approach and act at machine speed will meet today's AI-driven demands and going further, right? Because we don't know what the future holds. But we do know that we can do what we can to try and proof our digital experiences to what we have today, to meet what's coming next. And assurance is the bridge between AI ambition and AI resilience.
Awesome. I love that. I love that. And so listen, I love these talks when we get a chance to kind of like sit down and just have a quick chat with some of our experts here at Cisco. And so, Raj, I first want to thank you for all the awesome insights that you brought to us today. And after listening to you, I think it's clear that AI-powered assurance, to me at least, is no longer, it's not something that should be seen as optional. It's really becoming a foundational component for digital resilience and business continuity as we think of the adoption and people move to accelerate their AI journey. And if you'd like to learn even more, we invite you to download our new ebook titled Delivering Assurance at the Speed of AI, where we'll dig deeper into how AI workloads are reshaping network demands and how AI-powered assurance helps campus and branch environments move from firefighting to proactive resilience. And so with that, Raj, that concludes our session for today. And I thank everybody for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you on our next episode.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.